Hi, this is Tatiana, and this is part of my series on games that narcissists play. This one is about financial abuse. But before I get started, I wanted to say, as I say in the beginning of all my videos, that I'm not a doctor. These videos are part of my own coping strategy, and my hope is that the stories that I'm telling are validating your gut feelings. If you think that you're in a narcissistic or abusive relationship, you can listen to my stories and feel validated about what you're going through. So regarding financial abuse, this was a couple years ago in the video with the Covert and Overt Narcissist. I talk about some of the financial abuse that he did. It is using finances to control you or limit your ability to leave, ability to enjoy a happy life, etc. And about 2 years ago or so, whenever I was going through that, I had called the National Domestic Violence Hotline and was talking, how do I say this? When you call, it is anonymous. They're going to ask you your age. I think they ask what city you're in, or state, I can't remember. And then this was very interesting. For the first time, they had asked me a couple of questions saying, we're doing a survey, and they asked me if your partner has done the things that I'm going to list here. And I thought, as they asked me the questions, I remembered some things from my childhood. So anyway, the cool thing about that was that the National Domestic Violence Hotline was acknowledging that finances can be a game that narcissists play. It is an abuser's tactic to control you. So here's what you're looking for if you think that you are being quote-unquote financially abused. Demanding money in order to do what you want. Okay, I have a couple times in my life this covert, overt narcissist, as well as someone that I worked for. I've seen, I have seen this in a few different areas. Anyway, making you demand money or beg for money. That is in order to make you feel degraded, in order to get just your basic needs. So like I said, an employer used to. It took a few months for me to realize this because she would show up to work on payday, and I was paid in cash. So I would be waiting, and she just seemed to be kind of, shooting the breeze, and just, but it was like super uncomfortable small talk. So the first couple of times I was like, well, that was just weird, like I'm ready to go home at the end of the workday. Just pay me so I can go, Everybody knows that, right? Even if you do get along with your employer, you're like, pay me, I want to get home. And after a few months, I realized that that's what she wanted, was for me to ask to get paid, and in my opinion, I got paid once a month. I already worked. I don't need to ask to get paid. And you're here. The only reason that you're here is in order to pay me. So that went on for a year. Once I was aware of it, I watched it and just did not participate. However long it took her to be uncomfortable, I just let it be uncomfortable so that she would just pay me. I'm not going to ask. If she wants to stand there and torture her own self when she wants to go home, she can torture herself. I'm not going to let her know that it's bothering me. And then the covert, overt narcissist, right off the bat, right when we had moved in together, and that was the arrangement, I wasn't working, had moved, was going to start working, but the arrangement was that I would be, homemaker until that happened and flowed. And right just within that first week, I went to him and I said, okay, well, I'm guesstimating this is how much the weekly expenses are. Can you just have that for me, on Monday? So that, to me, there's no drama. I mean, money has to be dealt with, and so let's do this in a manner that's, convenient for you, convenient for me. Let's just do it on Monday. And his immediate response was, well, sometimes there's not going to be any money. And I was already, on alert about that guy. If you watch the video, you'll see it was day one of moving in together. And so when he said that, I was like, oh man, I know exactly what he wants me to do. And then as time went on, I could see that was exactly what he made his wife do, was to demand money. She would get so irate and upset that, that she needed money. When, I've talked about this in other videos, during their divorce process, she was entitled to alimony. You're entitled to spousal support while you are getting divorced. In the state of California, when you fill out your divorce papers, you can check the thing that gives you spousal support. And, they have children. She should have had child support as well. Whatever that amount is going to be, you're entitled to it. You're going to go through the divorce process and, find out what you're actually entitled to once the divorce is finalized. But during the process, the court recognizes, a divorce can take, 6 months up to a year. So they recognize, that the dependent party needs finances. And instead of doing that, and over time, I thought, I think she is so codependent and so unaware that he is a narcissistic abuser. She was used to that pattern that when the money gets low, she has to ask, tell, demand. And I believe that their relationship had progressed to the point that she just always demanded, which came across like she's a bitch. I think she is a bitch, but I think she's a bitch just the same way that when I was in a long-term abusive relationship, I did look like a bitch because I was pissed off and clueless about what was going on. So I felt like she was clueless and demanding money, and he loved it. I saw his face many, many times because I was so aware so quickly that he was abusive. I would look and intentionally look for that, what's the term? Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is getting joy out of someone else's pain. So I would see that look on his face. He didn't know I was looking. He'd be, reading something, reading a text message, looking at his computer, and I would look for that validation that he was enjoying her being stressed out of her mind about money when she had the right to get support. That was sad. That was sad. And so for me, in that dealing with the same dude, I would not participate, which meant I went hungry. I did not have money for anything, nothing. I had nothing. I remember at the end of 30 days, I counted up how much money he had actually handed to me, and he had handed me $12 for the laundromat because the washing machine, or one of the washing machine or dryer, the first month we were here. So literally that is all he gave me was quarters for 30 days. So that was absolutely and is absolutely a tactic for financial abuse. Someone who loves you and respects you, especially if you're a homemaker, is going to treat you with respect in regards to finances. There is a system set in place where you do not have to feel degraded. If you have a head of household homemaker type of scenario, that head of household is responsible for your finances. And just like at a job, you put in your time and you get your money. a head of household needs to be taking care of the finances and giving you the money that you need to run your household. That's your job, and you need finances in order to do that. Okay, keeping money from you unless you behave. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. You didn't do such and such, so no money. Well, okay, I get that when you're a kid, but when you're a full-grown adult, that's not okay. Removing your ability to access money, taking away your debit card, your credit card, whatever it is, and telling you that this is for you. Maybe you don't know, you did something, you know, maybe you overspent once and that person has taken your ability to access your own money, or opened up a joint account but did not give you the ability to access that account. You are dependent on them to give you cash from that joint account. Taking out a credit or debit card in your name. That was an interesting one. I haven't experienced that myself, but they did, as I said, when I called that National Domestic Violence Hotline. That was one of the survey questions they had asked me, is if my partner had opened up credit or debit in my name. And it had never occurred to me before. Financial abuse as a tactic had never occurred to me before. So as they were asking me that, all of a sudden, pop in my head, I remember, you know, if you watch, which video is it? I discussed what happened between my mom and my stepfather. Isolating the victim, I think. Anyway, pardon me that I can't remember, but anyway, I do in one of my videos discuss the exact scenario of what happened between my mother, my stepfather, and I, and regarding sexual abuse. And I recall when my mother was, when I was about 19, my mother called me and said she was leaving her husband, the man who had sexually assaulted me. And she was saying, because I did, even though my mother wasn't acknowledging the sexual assault, you know, she's still my mother, and so we had some type of relationship. But so she had called me and said, yeah, you know, something like, you know, I'm just fed up and I'm done. He had bought a television or a car. No, he had bought a car, but I think he bought it in her name or something like that. And she said, I'm just done. I don't have enough money to pay this car off. And, you know, out of context, and so her calling me is kind of out of context. I really don't know what their life has been like since I left, you know, so at that point it had been 7 years. So I don't know what their life is like or what struggles they have. But for some reason this sent her over the edge. So I assume that he was spending in her name. And, you know, at the time, you know, of course, I thought, oh, you'll leave him, you know, because he bought a car, but not because he sexually assaulted your daughter. So it was super dysfunctional the moment that it happened, and so that conversation hadn't really registered in my mind. It was just another way that my mother made me feel worthless. So it wasn't until they asked me that question on the hotline as a survey question that it dawned on me, oh, he was financially abusing her. Oh, so watch out for that. If they are opening and taking out credit in your name or making purchases with your money, right? I just had to take this cash out of your wallet and you just never seem to have any cash in your wallet. Stealing your money. Okay. This is kind of on the fringe there. I'm wondering about that. Damaging your work environment in order to get you fired and financially dependent on them. Not letting you drive or travel by yourself to and from work, right? They don't want you to travel to work, or they don't want you interacting with coworkers. You need to quit your job because they don't like the way that your boss looks at you, etc. That is designed to get you to not have money and to not be able to have an independent life, as well as in my case with the covert overt scenario. I, our intention was for me to go to work, and the second time that I tried to go to work, he had let my pets out, and that is under pet abuse as well. The games that narcissists play, pet abuse. So he had accidentally, on purpose, let my dogs out of the house so that I didn't feel safe going to work. I did go to work anyway, and it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And that was also, I remember him telling me about his, in the process of becoming his ex-wife, I remember him telling me that she refused to work. Refused. And over time I thought, did she refuse? Or did you just not make it safe for her to work? I don't know. Okay, so that's my list of examples that I have regarding financial abuse. And if you have any other ideas for anyone else who's watching, please put those in the comments. Anything you've experienced. Like I said, it's only within the last few years that they're acknowledging financial control as a tactic of abuse to help those who are being abused to reestablish their financial independence. I believe that they're, hopefully trying to set up programs to help with that. Okay, so I thank you very much for listening, and I wanted to close, of course, with that number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and the number is 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-SAFE, or just the numbers 1-800-799-7233. Store it in your phone under, a fictitious name, and Tatiana, and give them a call and talk to them, especially if you feel like financial abuse is the tactic or one of the tactics that's being used on you. Talk to them about that and ask them for some resources on how to start establishing some independent finances. And I do have a video posted about steps to leaving a narcissist. I believe one of those 4 videos, I do have some suggestions for how to establish your financial independence. Okay, I'm sending you much love.